my passion is people, and I love to see people who are in the gutter, who thrive after being through different experiences of deprivation. And so I see the Time Bank as a tool to redress that in people's lives.
Basically, I left school at 16. I was working in an arts cooperative in the north of England, in the northeast, and in a very, very poor area. So even from an early age, I was working in the cooperative movement. I live in a housing cooperative still, and I kind of, for most of my adult life, I've seen the difference that projects can make in the lives of local communities and people, whether they're elderly, young people, children. And I think it's really, really important that projects and social enterprises exist to give people a voice or an experience that they wouldn't otherwise have access to. And I think it's actually fundamental in terms of creativity and culture. And the key is around social cohesion, which is very, very important.
My main motivation in Electric Pedals is, I think, just doing really interesting events and being part of an interesting project. Doing something new, doing something that's really you feel really passionate about, solving a problem. I think there's many reasons for doing it, really, but essentially it's about just having a really sort of a project that's really diverse, that can take you to so many different places.
I didn't have a very good school experience, but I did have a couple of teachers at different stages of my life at school that actually gave me confidence. And then in the UK, various people have passed through my life and moved on. It's always been about encouragement and giving me confidence to do certain things and to push the boundaries. I can't think of names, but I have bumped into people like that on occasions.
I went to an experimental state school in secondary school. My mum fought really hard to get me into this school, and it was more learning by doing, and it was a very interesting experience. We all failed our O-levels at the end, but it was brilliant for the 5 years it existed. It was crazy, but it was like really interesting. Desks laid out in different ways. If we were learning about something, we physically went to a place to learn about it. So we had lots of trips abroad, and it was like really learning by being immersed in the culture and history of a place. It was extraordinary, actually, when I think about it now. And I would say that was my first introduction into that sort of alternative education, and I know I left with no qualifications, but I left with a lot of creative abilities. You know, I have dyslexia as well, and it kind of didn't matter in that secondary school. You know, it was kind of, the emphasis wasn't so much on learning by rote, but on experience. And I was very, very fortunate to have that 5 years in that secondary school.
I got into a bit of trouble, as I did quite often. And part of my sentence was to go to college one day a week, having really not finished school. So I went and did a BTEC in business, I think it was, which is at Telford College of Arts and Technology. Did that one day a week, and then just realised, oh, you know, actually I can, you know, I do have the ability to learn, and did all right at that, and did well enough. And I suppose there was a point there where there was one lady who was probably the only woman I knew with a degree at the time, called Fiona. She was a journalist, and she was doing the same course as me. And it was actually her that said, you know, why don't you apply for uni? And I'm just like, that's ridiculous. Because there's no influence, and there's no parental influence at that point. It was just kind of, you just did what you wanted, you brought yourself up and all that. So it's just really interesting that if there was someone who kind of gave me a nudge, just to kick me out of that rut, I mean, it certainly would have been Fiona.